logger update by Jeremy Zier of SpraySync. So he's got some new things to talk about. So pay attention, and we'll see if we can get them into our own programs. All right.
All right, hey everybody. My name is Jeremy Zaire, and I'm with SpraySync. So I'm the founder and engineer. So I actually grew up in Mulhall, North Dakota, and North Dakota State grad back in 2002, computer engineering. So it's been fun. I know part of the mapping technology grant is probably where maybe a lot of you have been at the conference for a few years now, but I know with mapping technology grants, probably where we've finally had a chance to get installed. I think over after this second round that just came up, we'll be in over half the counties in North Dakota, which has been a lot of fun to come out and do a tour of the state and do a lot of the on-site installs that we got a chance to do this year. So, like I said, I'm actually located in Boise, Idaho. My team that is here, they're also in Boise. Ryan, who might have done a lot of you guys' installations, we went to high school together in Mulhall. He's over in Hillsboro. So when I kind of see we have this owners based in Idaho and North Dakota, so I get to do some fun stuff too over at Oregon. So what I kind of want to start off with is just kind of a recap of 2023. You know, with the Map Technology Grant and a lot of the counties that ended up with our boxes in there. So just kind of see, like, you know, there's some pretty cool numbers that come out of this. You know, we have a lot of fun with this stuff. So we kind of pulled some of the numbers for this week to just see, hey, in 2023, what happened? So a total of over 31,000 acres tracked. So, and how we do this within the application, right? When a switch goes on, we have a particular width that you program in that says, hey, this is a 12-foot boom, and you drive, so we know the acres. So I kind of saw everything that happened in North Dakota this past year of 2023, not just county stuff, but also some with game and fish. So that's kind of all in there. And then it was kind of cool to see, just think of like the absurd number of miles that you guys are driving every year. It's a heck of an effort. 10,000 miles. And then from our standpoint, you know, every time that you're in the sprayer and you toggle your boom on and off, that's actually something we track. That's kind of something that is one of the additional benefits of this. So we know, you know, if you have two booms, one to the right and left, you put them both on, we cover that whole distance. So there was over 400,000 individual switches. I don't know how those switches survived the whole year, but 400,000, I thought that was a pretty cool number. So just wanted to show a few maps. These are pretty small. They're not, you know, too easy to see. We actually have these printed out over at our booth if you're kind of curious. We kind of, for a few of you counties, you kind of asked for the end of the year, you know, I want a way to just sort of show this in an easy way to my weed board, or just want to have something to print out on the wall. So if you ever are curious about, you know, doing this, and maybe this isn't something that, you know, you're not sure how to do it yourself, let us know. This was kind of, we developed a process to make this really easy to do. So we have a few of these printed out. Renville County, my hometown county, Trail, and kind of the northern part of Cass County. And so, you know, one other kind of wrapping up a little bit with the mapping technology grant, one thing I wanted to cover is, you know, getting the data that you have over to Jim at the North Dakota Department of Ag. One of the things, you know, think about past years, maybe with Vince's box, it was bringing the box in, letting Jim have at it and download the stuff all day. Well, you know, one of the big goals of this system was to make this data transfer process and sharing process a lot smoother, a lot easier on everybody, both on Jim's side and also on your side. So one of the things we have is that, you know, with our system, you can invite as many people as you want. So a lot of you that track that data, that, you know, those 30-some thousand acres, Jim now has access to that. He can go and download that in like a shapefile format, which is one of the most common GIS file formats. So he can see that and get that. So, you know I got a few questions. Well, I didn't bring my tablet. Did I need to bring my tablet? Well, the whole point of this is that it's already up there. If you have internet access, it uploaded it to our call system so that Jim can access it directly. It doesn't need to even ask your, you know, hey, you don't need to bring in and sit there and plug it in and stuff. So, And so I know I kind of have like up there instructions on that, but as we were working with the Department of Ag this week, I kind of went in there and gave access, you could get and start to build like a statewide map, which is kind of one of the big goals of this whole thing with the map and technology grant, is to have everybody on there. So you get kind of a holistic picture of everything that's happening in the state. So I know a lot of you like it's kind of after like I said after this mapping technology, the second round, probably about half of the counties in the state will be using SpraySync. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time on like current features because we've covered that in sprayer school this past year, last year at the thing, and anytime you come to our booth if you have any questions. So I'm just going to highlight kind of some of the features that we have that I have been observing or seeing that people probably aren't using as much. And then I'm going to go through four sort of big new features and things that we've added this past year that I think can be another tool in your tool belt for weed management. So one thing we talked about, and we definitely talked about this a lot as we went through the process and getting out there, but offline support. So we had a few counties that actually sprayed the entire year without even going on the internet, which I was like, okay, cool. I was a little bit worried, but it worked great. So it's just to reinforce, you don't need the cell plan. I know we usually talk about that a lot when you kind of your onboarding process and going through the grant and getting the units and stuff. So you don't need the cell chip in there to work at all. You can, if you have a fleet, it makes it a lot easier for management because you have if you have two people out spraying, you'll be able to see what they sprayed on your tablet so you don't overlap, or so you make sure that you have good coverage. But that offline support is rock solid and good. Everything is saved on the tablet, and then once you get back onto Wi-Fi, it'll upload it all. So that's kind of been a good thing to just highlight that. But one thing that's also on there is that we have, if on the left side of our app, there's an offline satellite maps that you can go in. Even if you don't have the cell plan and you're not getting live data, it doesn't mean you have to go without seeing the satellite maps underneath, just so you have landmarks while you're out spraying and roads. So you can actually go in there, pick your county, and just hit download. You have to wait a little while because it's downloading all those satellite maps onto the tablets so that they're useful offline. So that's just an important thing I wanted to mention, just in case, because I think a few people used it offline for like a lot longer than I thought. I thought most everybody would kind of come in and sync up, once a day or once a week. So that worked out good. And like I kind of mentioned, the live sync with multiple sprayers. So even some at the beginning of the tech grant, maybe a lot of got one or two, but maybe eventually you'll end up filling out your whole through the sprayers. When you do that, you actually have the capability on those tablets to see what everybody else is doing while you're out spraying, so you can help manage your team a little bit better, or allow them to kind of do that for you. And also, one of the new features I'll talk about in a little bit is we added a map view directly on the website, the SpraySync reporting website dashboard. That actually can be used. You can sit there, and if you know somebody's spraying in an area, if you sit there on the page, they'll automatically refresh and show you where they're at. So it's useful for you if you're trying to make sure everybody's doing the right job. Maybe part-time help. You've got new people, just to make sure that everything is on the up and up, and everybody's doing what they're supposed to be to avoid having finding out a week later that you were supposed to spray that whole area, and now we got to go back. So that could be useful. And also on the side, because I know we did a lot of spraying and stuff during the year, but we kind of come to the end here and we're talking about sharing that data back with the Department of Ag. One of the things that we have is you get unlimited users, unlimited jobs. It's all included. There's no extra cost or anything. That's all included with your pricing. So it makes it so you can inviting Jim Hansen or anybody you want to share data with is included. So you just add their email. They can write online, they can log in, and then they can have a reduced role. So they don't see all of your stuff, but they go in there and see dashboard. They can pull by date, by person, download a shapefile or a KML file, whatever they want to get. So it's also to help reinforce that, for the reporting processes, you're supposed to have everybody individually identified, right? So if somebody goes in and does a log on their, have them, their name, their certification license number on there. So that's the thing where, you don't have to be shy about adding people. You can add as many as you want. And even think about it, maybe not everybody even has an email address with your county. It's not a big deal. Just even if we've got some counties get placeholder email addresses. just to get them in there. And then maybe every year you don't have to keep swapping stuff. So it's a thing we can walk you through that stuff too. And a lot of these things, if out on our website, there's some fairly lengthy, maybe boring, some may say, but walkthrough videos where I'm going through kind of all of our features and trying to make it easy to see instead of a big like bunch of text or stuff. So they're out there. And then kind of a feature, this is sort of a newish feature, but I almost think of it as just a maybe not necessarily publicized as much feature. When you set up your chemical load within SpraySync, we added the capability to track your overall tank mix applied, which some folks were asking for, some other customers across the different states. So that is another thing in there. So not only can you track within your chemical load each individual chemical and where you put in its ounces per acre flow rate, you can also add overalls when it's diluted, when it's mixed with water. What's that overall application rate? So it's just another piece of information that you have that might be used for your reporting at the end of the year. Okay, so now I'm going to cover, but hit at a high level 4 new features. So, and like I said, I'm going to go through some stuff here. I know I've got a half an hour, and we're getting ready to go have some food. So I'm not going to take a ton of time, but we're here all day tomorrow. So if you're curious about any more of these, I know we've already hit quite a few of you up on some of these new features as you've stopped by and kind of asked questions. Um, so one of the big options we rolled out very early in the spring. So likely it was part of a lot of our discussions as we were trying to figure out, hey, what's the right way for you to track, how you spray? Not everybody sprays the same way. I've seen 5 different ways that people might use a hand wand / hose reel that kind of drove a lot of these changes on just making sure that you have the tools you need. I'm not going to dictate how you track a hose reel, but we want to just arm you with the stuff that you need to do it in the way you want it. And then we have the spray map preview. We have our temperature and wind export. I have these sections. We'll go over more. And then kind of a long-awaited feature of being able to bring your own map data into SpraySync. So we'll hit these up. So we used to have kind of at the beginning, we kind of treated everything like a boom. So it had a width that it would end up being mapped like a polygon. Well, that wouldn't work great in all situations, especially with hose reel, with handgun. But we also found that there was a bunch of different ways that people did this. So you might stop your sprayer, get out, walk in the ditch, and use the handgun, or you might be on a platform in the back. Somebody's driving, but somebody else is in the back and spraying with a handgun as you go. That's like Oringo County, and there was also a county in Iowa that did that. So the different ways that you might want to track that could be not as a polygon. Like that doesn't always make sense to like something that has a width when you're spraying. So we give the options now to be able to track with a line or with a point, however you need to. And we also kind of have a backpack option that kind of, we felt like it was different enough and we wanted to call it out as its own thing. So you'll notice like this is kind of a screenshot of within the website of the vehicle switch config page where you can say, hey, which switch, what does that mean? What kind of spring, how do you want that tracked? So we have a difference. The one on the top is kind of showing our traditional boom, that's the width, right? The line in the middle is the GPS. Let's just say, I'm spraying 20 feet off to the right. That would be the traditional boom, boomless nozzle, whatever you're using. But we have these hose reel line, backpack, and hose reel point options. So that I'm kind of trying to get to when would you use a point? If you are a customer, we've had a lot of discussions as you figured out, how SpraySync was working and how you were spraying and how maybe we hooked up a flow switch, maybe we didn't, maybe used a software only mode. But like, when do you use a point? When do I think is the right time to use a point? And so, if you're ever parking the sprayer and getting out and spraying with a hose reel, to me, or hand wand, whatever it is, to me, that's the right time to use a point. We always think about you never want to overstate what you spray, right? So if you're out there and walking around, even if you have a 100-foot hose, the GPS is in the tablet, it's in the truck. We don't know where you're walking, so we don't want to draw a big circle that doesn't actually represent what you did, right? You went out and you hit something. You're out there walking around, so we got to think of that more as like tracking an individual point where you're spraying. So in the other case, if you're in the sprayer, maybe the sprayer's still moving, or maybe you're going to be kind of spraying on the side. That's more like a line, right? So when you're spraying the hose reel, you don't really, or a handgun, you don't necessarily have a big, it's not 10 foot, it's not whatever. It's kind of, a little harder to tell. So again, you always kind of think about don't overstate kind of what you're spraying because we'd rather you don't want to be inaccurate in saying you covered a big area when in fact you just kind of hit stuff. So a line is really probably the more appropriate one for that case. But also if you're pretty constant and you're up at a certain height and doing it, you might want to track it like a boom. In that case, it'll have acres associated with it. So again, I'm kind of showing the screenshots within the vehicle switch config page that's on the website about how you switch those different modes, kind of down at the bottom. And then when would you use a backpack? Well, when you're in a backpack. If you've got the tablet with you or the phone and you're out and spraying, it's again a backpack. You're not covering a gigantic big area, so it's tracking very similar to a line, so it's not too much different than a line. And then one thing we at the beginning of the year, like I don't know, the things that it seems like COVID supply chain issues have impacted and still continue to impact always surprises me. And for some reason, um, flow switches seem to be still impacted by stuff. So early on in the season, it was actually really hard to get them. I think I put an order in March and got it in September. Um, so we finally do have kind of past that now, but one of the things that we wanted to add was just if you're just dropping a hose reel and hitting it, maybe we don't worry about the flow switch that would automatically track it, but instead you just drop a point and say what weeds you saw. So we actually do have a software only add a spray point option. So it can be useful in quite a few cases. It can also be useful. We've even found like different cases where maybe you just want to do more like scouting and you want to just say, hey, I saw some spurge here, drop a spray point there, and we can start to be more of your kind of go-to spot for doing all sort of GIS and geographic type data tracking and whatever you need. So the other one that was kind of released, without much fanfare. I don't know if I even sent out too much in the email, was it? But a lot of you noticed it. We added that red circled map button there. So we realized that as we would go through and kind of give demos and kind of show you how to look at your data. We would always have you download a file, like a KML file, and then open it in a program like Google Earth or program to open shape files like ArcGIS or QGIS. There's a bunch of stuff out there, but it was always using a third-party piece of software. So it was always a little, kind of felt like, okay, well, install this and install this. And we didn't want to have anybody need to install anything, but just go to the website and do stuff. So we ended up rolling out a map view. So it ought to show, you click on that and it'll show everything in the same, it even uses the same satellite maps that the tablet uses. So you can view it, preview it right online. You can actually zoom, you can make it full screen. You can also click on an individual form entry or the swath and what was sprayed and actually see all the same stuff. So this is all familiar to you if you have been using it and downloading a file to KML, opening up in Google Earth and then clicking on stuff. But we felt like we needed this piece in there to make it so it's a much more streamlined, user-friendly experience for everybody who's doing the reporting side of it. So one other thing that we kind of noticed throughout the year that not everybody was using it. We know everybody has had the North Dakota Red and Wave Daily Records Report. Like everybody has seen this PDF, I'm pretty sure, at some point, and you probably have stacks of them of stuff that you did for your daily records throughout the years. So one of our big goals was just to we're all digital. We like to try and eliminate where we can. So trying to eliminate and recreate this report, we were close. We had the form in there, but we realized like not a lot of people were necessarily using it. So as we kind of asked around, it's like there's not a great like export format for it. There was an Excel output and download, but we felt like we could do better than that. So we spent a lot of time focused specifically on the North Dakota Red and Wave Daily Records Report because we don't oftentimes come into a state and there's actually something very formal like in that everybody pretty much uses. I know this might shock you because this is what you're used to, right? You've seen this, you've been using it for a long time, but we've gone to a bunch of other states and we ask them what they do, and it varies from county to county. They might have the overall requirements, but when they actually drill down to like where's your form? Like, oh, here's mine, here's mine, here's mine. Well, it has the same stuff. Like, why is there no standard? So we're actually like, it was pretty nice, when a state actually has a standard that, I talk to everybody, knows this and fills this out, to make a report and invest our time and make an report that works for everybody. So within your system, so again, this is the temp and wind reporting that everybody's doing every hour or two throughout the day. Um, and so within our app, the main map page at the bottom right, there's a little plus button, and then there's an add form / log. We used to call it log. We're kind of switching to calling it form. So I did the great move of calling it add form / log. So then if you're used to one, you're not getting confused with the button being gone or something. So add form is there, and that'll pop up a button for the North Dakota Daily Records Report that every county, if you're a county in North Dakota, you have this on there. We've inserted it in as part of your default kind of package that you get. So you'll be presented with just a date range, and usually that's a button that for the most part you're never going to change the start end dates. It defaults you to the last time you did a form. It'll have the start date as that, and the end date will be at the current time. But we have that in case you want to change it. And then you'll go through. You'll enter your temp, wind direction in degrees, your wind velocity. You'll also have the edge of growth. So remember, these are all these things from the report, from the PDF that has been around for a while. But you'll notice that weeds in the chemical data section is actually kind of grayed out. That's all being automatically calculated from all of your spraying. So within the app, you have the weed buttons on the left that you can press, almost kind of similar to like Vince's box with the physical buttons. We kind of emulated that with some of the like the weed buttons on the left. And then, you have we talked about the chemical load and setting that up. So your chemical load and individual chemicals and your flow rates, whatever you had sprayed since the last time you did one of these forms will be all automatically calculated. So again, we're trying to replicate the paper form, but with the automation of, hey, we've got this whole system it knows exactly how many acres you're spraying, so we get all this stuff, we can back it up. And then there's a total mix applied. So if there was actually total mix applied, that would have a number there. So again, it's not, you can override it if there's some inaccuracies or maybe you did some hose reel stuff and you want to change it or whatever, but that's there. A lot of it's defaulted. So then you can hit the submit button. And I didn't show it, but there's a signature thing. So that was one of the big things when we were trying to make sure that place paper. So there'd be a signature that you just autograph, and that's what you're kind of seeing there. My beautiful number 1 and number 2 signatures that show up within our dashboard. And so the new thing, so those have been in there for a while, but just we can kind of see, and we always kind of look at how people use our software, and that helps highlight. If we see things like, oh, a lot of people are using this, that tells us we need to talk about it more or work on features to make sure it's more useful. So one of the things we added is that second button there. It's a specific export that we custom coded to match that PDF, and something that would be a lot more accessible. So you click that, and it creates an Excel spreadsheet. So we can kind of lay out things nice. So it'll automatically bring in your date range. Anybody who's sprayed for the day, it'll bring in their applicator number, its license number. Gets your group. I don't have anything filled out, but there's a spot for your group profile. Your job you're working on, and then this is further down in the Excel thing. It'll spit out those the temperature and wind logs that you took. It'll also put the information about the chemicals and everything that you used. And then it'll also actually embed a map at the bottom, so you also have a record of, okay, what was actually sprayed that day. So you can have this Excel output as sort of a, it could be a deliverable, it could be something you email to somebody, but ultimately anybody can go in and generate that at any time if they have access to this thing online. You can go back as long as you want, find a day, and generate this report again. So it's kind of a nice way to sort of bundle up this reporting. And what I want to hear is like, you're out there using this. Like, I think you guys have known me long enough that I care, if you don't like something, tell me. Like, we want to fix it. I'm not coming here as the salesperson. I'm the founder, I'm the engineer. I brought the whole engineering team here. And like Brian is the other installer. So you're gonna see us, we're the ones actually working on this stuff. So when you tell us, it's not like it goes into some thin air, and then we don't do it. Like we come here to hear this feedback directly and have the power to fix it and change it. So I want to hear that too, and I always want to have that be like if you come away with anything, it's that I want to hear your honest feedback on stuff. I'm not gonna, I might not like it, like everyone, none of us like getting criticized, but if there's something that you guys want, like it's living software, it changes. I mean, we released probably 10, 15 times this summer in response to things that you guys saw or that you needed or that you wanted. So don't ever be afraid to reach out. So like you guys have my email and everything. So one of the last things is kind of something we're super excited about. Worked on for months this year and kind of snuck it out at the very end of the season. We wanted to have this as one of our big 2023 goals was to get this out and kind of be able to present it at the conferences the season that pretty much kicks off for us with this conference. It's about bringing your own data. So what we have is that you can bring any data that you have in a shapefile format. You can actually upload that into SpraySync. You can see that on your maps. You can see that in your tablet, and you can interact with it and see any data that's inside of that shapefile. So there's a lot of different use cases for this. One of the most common is landowner data. So like tax parcel information. So a lot of that information, if you search around for it, it's available. The state usually has it at a state level. Some counties have it at the county level. And we're even looking across different states. You can find a way. Maybe sometimes it's a little buried or a little hard to find, but our Google searching skills have gotten good over the years. So we can find this stuff and then you can upload it in there and then have it available. So as you're spraying, if you see something on somebody's property, to know that. We've even seen a lot of people, ask them, hey, what other apps do you use to like help through your weed management? We hear a lot of people, oh, we're using Onyx. Well, why? Oh, well, landowner stuff. So when we hear that, we're trying to make sure that we've got all the tools that you guys need to do your job. And that's what we heard a lot was having the landowner maps there. And also one of the common things is having a no spray map. So not only, just getting information while you're out there, but also like communicating out to your team, hey, don't spray here. But we kind of see people have that. Maybe you print out a separate map, or you have that on your phone, but then you have our stuff on a tablet. And how easy is that to see while you're spraying and to remember? Oh, actually, there's an area here that's hey, there's an organic farm coming up. So one of those use cases actually, Stan gave us some great data from his Cass County with spray maps. We use that to help model some of our feature to make sure it worked. And then he also, another Cass County thing was some water table data. So they had all this stuff in a shapefile format. So we really just designed it generically. You have data, shapefile format, you want to send it up there. It can show up on the tablet as you're spraying. And we even thought of like a lot of people have asked, hey, like this past year, 2023, did a bunch of spraying within SpraySync. Well, I want to see that next year. So when you go around, you actually know like where you sprayed. So maybe you want to double check it, or you want to make sure you spray the same areas, or whatever you want to use it for. So that's another thing you can download your stuff already, the shapefile, and then upload it. So within, this is a thing, I'm kind of talking about this feature, but it's also one of those features that is kind of we're looking for early adopters. So people who are very interested in this, I want to hear from you. We're kind of trying to make sure that, we can only build software with your feedback. I'm not out there spraying. I'm trying to learn as much from you guys and how you do your job to make our software better so it works for you. So I'm looking for people who think they have applications for this, and then we can enable it on your account. And then we would like to make sure that everything that you have works. And then it'll be something that we eventually will release to the broader audience. So you can upload data, and you can actually color it based on whatever color you want. So individual layers. So we kind of made sense, for like a no spray map, it was like red. It's like, well, yeah, I'm gonna have something that hey, I should probably hold off here if I see something coming up. And a water table map color blue. We have some other, landowner stuff, kind of whatever color you want. Our spraying shows up as blue within the app, so you can kind of mix and match the color. One of the other things that's nice is that you can associate this data that you upload to just an individual job if you want to, or you can put it and have it attached to everything. So it makes it easy. So like maybe as you go through 2024, 2025, you'll have updated maps, but you don't maybe want the old stuff showing up on the new stuff. You have new updated things. So what you'll end up seeing, it might be hard to see, but there's kind of a red colored around that road right there and kind of across. And so that's actually this. It's some of the no spray maps from Cass County. And so if you tap that red section, that's the data that was embedded within that file. So that's saying it's a hay ditch. So kind of whatever. I'm very curious. Kind of we're here all the way through tomorrow, so I kind of want to hear like what kind of stuff you guys have that you could envision using this on, because we want to make sure that like this is if there's something we're missing, we want to know. Um, so and then I'm just gonna kind of leave this with like, what are we kind of coming up with next? What are we hearing from everybody? What is on our plan? And so one of the things we've heard from a lot of people is just being able to, right now our system is like you turn a switch on and it tracks. Turn it off. We're not mapping anything. We're not doing whatever. But a lot of times if you're going through a mile of road and maybe it's free of weeds. But the way that the reality of how people do their job is that you're kind of scouting and spraying at the same time, right? If you drive along, you see a weed, you're going to spray it. If you don't see a weed, you're not going to spray it. But yet you covered that area. So to kind of, we want to be able to add in the ability to just say, hey, actually just like start mapping right now, track where I'm spraying, but also so we know what we scouted. So you can kind of have that almost like coverage map. Like what did we look at? What did we check and make sure that matches up with what you go. Because if you see a stretch of land and it doesn't have any spraying on it, you're like, well, did you actually drive it or did you miss it, right? So that's kind of a thing we're trying to work on. Hopefully, a 2024 thing. And also, a lot of kind of folks who do weed management also work very closely or alongside, sometimes in the same departments as people who do like mosquito fogging. So we're working on our system to be able to support that too. It's kind of a different style of instead of like on spray, it's more like once per minute, changes much of reporting and stuff, but it's like similar enough to what we do that we're planning on getting there. And like I said, like we come to these conferences, not just to have fun and play poker and things. Like it's one of them, but we're here to hear from you guys. Like, what do you need? Especially if you're customers, you've seen what our software does, or you're shopping around, you're trying to figure out, hey, like I really can use this. Like we want to hear that stuff. It doesn't always mean we're going to build it. That takes time and stuff, but we want to hear, your ideas because ultimately, we like to think we can build everything, but it's about building the right thing that kind of makes your guys' job easier. Um, so yeah, so Jeremy at SpraySync, SpraySync.com is our website. We have a ton of video walkthroughs, even some of these new features like the bring your own data. I have much more detailed stuff on that than I can kind of communicate in some slides up here. So feel free to go there. There's a big video library section. Um, yeah, and that's it. Cool. Thanks. Sure. Oh, appreciate it.